In what is likely to be but one of many cost-cutting measures either already being taken or on the horizon, Ubisoft has disbanded the team behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, as the game did not meet expectations. Now, bear you in mind, this is still a little bit on the rumour level here, as it comes from a French journalist who says that he has been told by multiple devs at Montpellier, the developer, that the team is now gone. Now, exactly what that means is a little bit unclear. Maybe they've simply been disbanded and moved to other teams, maybe they've been rearranged internally within the company, or more likely, they've been fired and removed because, well, Ubisoft is not exactly in a position right now to be holding on to teams of developers that don't create games that sell. Now, the interesting thing here isn't necessarily the failure of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown in and of itself, but rather the reasons why that we can begin to speculate too. So, a lot of people who worked on it apparently claim that it was an excellent game, one of the best they'd ever made. Others have apparently claimed that it's also a very, very good game, and the game's Metacritic score appears to be backing that up. 86% favorable from critics and 8.5 from general users. I mean, that's pretty great, honestly. If only there was somebody actually out there who bought and played the game, then a score like that might be very, very impressive indeed. So this does not appear to have been a qualitative problem on behalf of the game itself. What then could possibly have caused the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown to become a financial failure? After all, the Prince of Persia series is a fairly long-standing one. I mean, God, the old pixelated games. I played that. I had a copy of it. I don't think I managed to get past the first couple of screens because I was a child at the time and kept falling down pits. Anywho, the point is, the Prince of Persia is a long-standing series, so surely it should have a pretty, pre-installed user base, more than willing and able to snap up a sequel. Well, that's where the main character comes into play. Yes, this not at all Prince of Persia looking man is the main character of The Lost Crown, and this, of course, is where the controversy kicked off, as this doesn't really look like a Prince of Persia, now does it? It looks like a random black dude with the one accepted black guy character hairdo, which is authentically black enough, apparently. Now, around this time as well, there was actually a general complaint going on about how video games didn't have black hair, and by that I meant, authentically African hues, I guess. So this was one of the few accepted hairdos that were, that got out of that whole debate. Which is why you see it around a lot. The Killmonger hairdo. Now, at the time even, the creator of the Prince of Persia series put out this. I understand there's been some controversy about what a Prince of Persia hero should look like. I think it's time for me to provide an official style sheet that everyone can refer to. Please see attached. I hope this helps settle things once and for all. Now, this was meant to be in defense of the Lost Crown, but of course, he doesn't look like anything at all like the various predecessors. You could make the argument the point he's trying to make is that there's been lots of different Prince of Persia, but even then, there are distinct similarities between the vast majority of them not shared by this character, and that was the bit of drama. Now, honestly, it was even a fairly small controversy. Most people looked at it and went like, that's the Prince of Persia, and then simply moved on. It didn't become a major battleground. There weren't a lot of people calling for the blood of this game, and seeing as it also appeared to have been a decent video game, it wasn't cancelled over masses of negative reviews or anything. So what happened? Well, for those who are actually deeper into the series, it's not the Prince of Persia. That's one thing. It's Sargon, apparently, who is one of the immortals, who is on a mission to save the Prince of Persia. Right. I think I can see the problem here. So, you've taken the actual titular main character of the Prince of Persia, you have taken him, removed him, captured him in essence here, and you've replaced him with somebody else, whom the audience have no connection to because, well, why should they? They've never seen the guy before. And now you're playing as him to rescue the prince? Aha. Okay then. There was even apparently some naughty fanfiction swirling around the internet around the time of release, suggesting that Sargon here was looking for the prince so that they could resume their, you know. Now, admittedly, I am not a particularly large Prince of Persia fan, so what would I know? But, it is the current year, and it was the current year back then too. I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if there was some additional freeing there. But then, here. The wider point here, then, is we've been talking a lot recently about how woke has become the mark of the beast, how associating with companies like Sweet Baby Inc. will be, in essence, the death of a video game because everyone now knows the signs and they avoid them like the plague. Well, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown indicates that this has actually been around for a lot longer than we actually thought. The merest hint of wokeist infiltration of a video game has actually been laying a bit more dormant in a lot more people's subconscious than we initially expected, to the point where even a game that has a very, very small amount of drama around it is enough to make people have a look at it and be turned on by the fact that they're no longer seeing the Prince of Persia character. And for the actually installed user base who would like to purchase the game, well, the fact that you replace the Prince of Persia with somebody else saving the prince is not going to do your game any sales favors either. It turns out this has been a problem in gaming for a lot longer than we thought, and it's been having detrimental effects on games and games producers for a lot longer than we've thought. Now, Ubisoft, of course, has been in the dirt for quite some time. They haven't been doing particularly well at all for a very long time at this point. Games like these were in many ways the beginning of Ubisoft's general downward swing, where they began to move into more of a diverse direction that didn't pay for itself and only really catered to creating small controversies. See, this also goes back to the idea, which was quite prevalent like 6-7 years ago, that the companies were courting the DEI nonsense, wokeism, SJWs as we called them back then, for PR purposes, that they were actually doing this to get eyeballs on their product. They were like, okay, how do we spread our name out there? How do we get everyone to know that there's a new Prince of Persia coming? Oh, I know, we replace the Prince of Persia with a new character. Then we make him look very visually distinct so that the people online will go like, that's not the Prince of Persia, what's going on here? And that will create a PR whirlwind around it, which will launch our video game into a fame and fortune. Well, didn't really work out. See, I've never really been on board with that line of reasoning because there was a time when all PR was good PR. Absolutely, that is absolutely sure. And that was mostly when the time when getting PR was very, 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 very difficult. When your best way of advertising to someone was to, put a billboard on the side of a bus so that you could drive past 10,000 people, and out of those 10,000 people, 100 might be interested. As advertisement is a big numbers game. Even with targeted data, when you go like, okay, somebody's searching for a treadmill, let's show them treadmills, the data might be outdated before you even get the data in your hands. And thus, even if you show an advertisement for a treadmill to a guy looking for a treadmill, you don't know if he's actually looking for a treadmill or if he just casually searched it one day like, I wonder what treadmills cost these days, etc. Basically, you need to put your advertisement in front of a tremendous amount of pair of eyes so that you can convert that total amount of interactions into a 0.something% of actually interested people. Now, again, previously, when PR was very difficult to get by, you basically had like radio, television, or again, actual literal billboards. The numbers were difficult to achieve. In today's world, however, it's not difficult for a game company like Ubisoft to get eyes on their products. It is not hard to reach that cumulative number. What is difficult is convincing people that it's actually good. And now that it is relatively easy to get the message in front of eyeballs, banned PR becomes a thing. Because now word of mouth can become a negative. Whereas before, simply having a number of eyeballs was far more important than any negative feedback. Now, the negative feedback has the ability to place itself in front of as many pair of eyes as the game does as well. This is why I talked about this in the Dustborn video, right? Where the Dustborn developer was like, oh, you know, we were just looking for our little niche. We know there's plenty of people out there who want this little niche, and we'll totally get more sales in the future. Well, how do you explain, then, that your game blew up? It became viewed by hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and you still did not manage to convert those millions of eyeballs into sales? And the only reasonable explanation at that point is that the audience you seek isn't actually out there. That's what the data is telling us. That is what the data has been telling us now for a very long time. And I am really looking forward to seeing more of this data begin to appear. As apparently, according to, again, this French journalist here, it didn't take very long for Ubisoft to decide to cut production of the game, to not add on any story content, and to not go forward with any sort of an expansion pack, meaning that the sales must have been immediately so bad that Ubisoft saw no reason to continue to invest in the project, or to continue to plan for even a potential project in the future. In fact, I think this one is particularly telling. Another crazy justification that the dev team received from higher-ups was that the releasing a sequel for the game would cannibalize long-term sales for the first game. That is rather telling, because that means that the game as it stands right now has such a small audience, such a tiny user base, that Ubisoft would actually prefer to continue to sell the game that has good word of mouth, rather than risk ruining and have an even smaller installed user base with the next game. At least now it will come across as a finished and completed product, a rarity in today's day and age, instead of showing them a thing that may or may not be a success, and probably with an even smaller user base, an even smaller fan base, will almost certainly be an even greater disaster than the first game. It is rather interesting, I think. And this, of course, is the data that all of the major companies have been receiving, with Ubisoft being one of the ones to never ever course correct until it eventually started to flounder completely. Now, whether or not it will continue to flounder, we'll see. The recent rumors about a buy-up has actually seen Ubisoft stock recover, at least to a certain degree, and hey, there is still value in Ubisoft's catalogue, if nothing else. I'm becoming less sure that we're going to see the death of Ubisoft. And now that I've said that, we're probably going to see their dissolution in about 2 weeks. But there is something to be salvaged there. Like the Prince of Persia series is an excellent example. Like, look at all of this history you see here. Surely there's got to be one more good video game in all of this, right? Well, not in current days, Ubisoft. But perhaps later, when the vultures are done picking over the carcass. And again, please, Silent Hunter, I beg you, Silent Hunter, someone, Tencent, even if you buy it, I'll still pick it up, despite my dislike for you personally, Tencent, and everything you stand for. But sub-sim fans have been starving for a very long time, so consider that narrow niche market as the one that you might wish to aim for instead. Anyways, the Prince of Persia Lost Cloud development team have now been deleted. One amongst many. I'm expecting to see a lot more of these cost-saving measures being taken by Ubisoft in the very near future. But what do you guys think about it? Did you enjoy the game? Did you buy the game? Did you know that this wasn't the Prince of Persia? Because honestly, it kind of surprised me a little bit. But, I guess the whole swapping out the main character for a side character thing hadn't quite taken off at the time yet. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.